What's your default? What I mean by that is, do you have a preset in your life? Things that you default to when life is going in all kinds of different directions. What is that? What is that for your life? It seems like we all have certain presets in our life, maybe when it comes to our diet, that if we got to have a meal, we come up with this thing that we fall back to. And it can be the same way with exercise. Normally, what do you do every day? Do you go to your default, when your schedule is a little bit different? And what would that be? Maybe it's work. What is your default at work? What's your preset? What are the things that you normally do? And maybe a little bit more on the spiritual side of things. What's our preset, or what is our default when it comes to our attitude? That becomes a big challenge in our life. In fact, there is a song in the Psalms that deals with this. It's over in Psalm 90, and in verse 17, here's what it tells us. It says, "Let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us." Boy, that would be a beautiful default, a wonderful preset. But then it goes on and says, "Establish the work of our hands for us." We seek God to do that. And it says it again, yes, God, establish the work of our hands. Well, isn't that the kind of default that each and every one of us desire? We need to pray about that. We need to ask God to help that to be our default, that we, no matter what is going on in our life, we automatically default. We automatically have this preset to what God has established, to what God has laid down. Because if we don't, if we default to something else, if we default to our own ways or our old ways, then we know that compromise is certainly on the horizon. So let's make that our goal. Let's make God's way our default. That's BT Daily. We'll see you next time.